Welcome to episode 121 of the Epilogue Lady podcast. My name is Bente and I'm coming to you from Vesterålen, northern Norway, where I live with my husband, my oldest son and 3 cats. You can find me on Instagram as Arctic Crafts, on Facebook as Arctic Crafts by Bente, and on Ravelry as Arctic Crafts 65. There is also a group on Ravelry where you can participate in make-alongs and the occasional giveaway. I also have a Ko-fi page where you can support me and the podcast. All of this is linked down below. I think that is it. It's actually snowing today, or it has been snowing, and when I got up this morning, the ground was covered in snow. It's gone already, of course, because it's late May and the sun has been out today. And just a few days ago, Friday, May 17th, Constitution Day, was almost 20 degrees centigrade. And last night it started snowing. So that's a May in northern Norway for you. But the snow doesn't stay long on the ground this late, because it vanishes almost immediately. Hubby is home today, so he has been sent to the bedroom because I didn't want to record in the bedroom. It's a total mess and it would take me forever to clear out the room to be able to record in there. Plus I had the sleeping cat on the bed where I was supposed to put down my camera. So he volunteered. The reason why he's home today is because today is actually a holiday in Norway. Norway is one of the world's most secular countries. We have some of the biggest rates of atheists and agnostics, but we really love our days off. So it's Pentecost, I think it's called in English, and it was today is the second day of Pentecost, and almost every other country in the world has a normal work day today, but not Norway. So my son is at work today, but he has a short day because it's a holiday. So I didn't realize it was Pentecost when I decided to record today, but as I said, Happy volunteered to get lost while I was recording. As you can tell, I'm actually wearing knitwear today. And this is one of my FOs. This is the... I have to stand up again so you can see it properly. This is the Everyday Tee by Twin Stitches Design. Julianne Knitter. And the yarn is Hugh Loco, a gift, Christmas present from my husband. And this is my entry, one of my entries for the tea time mal. I of course won't win a prize, but I thought I'd knit along with you. And while we're talking about the tea time mal, it's running to the end of June, so you still have more than a month if you haven't decided whether you should participate or not. Whips are allowed. So if you have started a tea, as long as it was less than 50% done by the start of May, before May 1st, you can participate in the make-along. I also have another make-along running. It's the Fluff to Stuff make-along. And in Works in Progress today, I'll show you something that I'm making for the Fluff to Stuff mal. And I'm also co-hosting the Shop the Stash make-along with Liz and Sue from Distant Stitches and Alex from my Yarny Corner. We all draw prizes for that, and it's an Instagram only make-along. That was it for make-alongs. I've shown you one of my FOs, and before I start talking more about knitting, I have an announcement to make. I have been struggling for the last few months. I've had a rough winter, and this podcast is starting to feel like a chore. And I feel like I'm not producing enough to show you, so I feel like I haven't got a lot to talk about, so the episodes are really short. And because I'm a people pleaser, I of course feel guilty about that. So, because I don't want to stop doing this altogether, I decided that I should just start doing them more rarely. I will do a podcast in 2 weeks because that marks the start of the Arctic Summer of Socks, because that starts June 1st. So I want to do a podcast when that's around the time when that starts. So, but after that, I will be doing podcasts at the end of each month, beginning of the month after, depending on, it will be the Monday closest to the end of the month. And the reason why I'm choosing the end of the month is because all my make-alongs running the rest of the year all, of course, ends at the end of a month. So I can talk about make-alongs and announce winners and stuff in my podcast. So I'm doing a podcast in 2 weeks at the end of May, and then the next podcast will be at the end of June, the end of July, and so on. And the Arctic Summer of Socks starts June 1st and ends on August 31st, and then September 1st the Spooky Mal starts. So that will be around, it's snowing again. I have a small crack in the curtains and I can tell it's snowing again. Makes for really good lighting for the podcast because I don't have sun in through the windows. But it's actually snowing and it's late May. It's really beautiful here though, so I think I can live with it. But again, that was my announcement. I'm not quitting the podcast altogether, but I'm going to do it more only once a month. Hopefully that will make this more, I wouldn't say enjoyable because I enjoy doing the podcast, but again, I have lots of other stuff to do. I've started working. It's only 2 days a week and only 4 hours each time, but it's enough for me to get more easily exhausted. And it's not like I'm making any money on this. So it's something, this is going down on the list of my priorities, if you know what I mean. So once a month. And that hopefully means I have more to show you each episode because I have more time to do stuff. That was it for my announcement. And this is turning into being a tangent. As I said once before, I should call this the tangent lady. But anyways, I have one more FO to show you. And it's my Tittygaga socks. And the yarn is Snowdrop. Hopefully Snowdrop. From Laura George. And these, I really love these socks. It was a really fun pattern to knit as well. And I love the socks because you have this pattern at the back as well. So you don't have to do just a little pattern at the front and then go around a whole sock, and then you have this pattern at the end. And it's also easily to memorize. And because this is my last FO, it's not my last FO, never mind. I have a spinning FO as well. And it's this. This hasn't been soaked yet, but I'm finished the spinning. As you can tell, it's really colorful and really pretty. And this is, the fiber is from Lime Green Jelly. And it was a present from Leslie at the Not Quite Enough Yarn podcast. And I really love this. And it's a blend of merino and sea cell. And sea cell is made from seaweed. And I've been trying to Google it to find out if it's more durable than merino. because I really want to knit socks with this. I'm not sure how much I've got, but I think I have enough for a pair of shorties. I really want to use this for socks. But of course I can always knit socks with it, and hopefully it will be durable. But I'll have to calculate how many meters I have to figure out if because I think about 200 meters should be enough for a pair of socks, shorty socks for me. So I'll figure that out. And then I have works in progress. This one is living in a bag from Den Glade Tråd. It was a gift from Nina, who hosts the podcast. And in here I have a sock project that I'm doing for my husband. The yarn is from Chromatic Yarns, and it's called the DM's Library Collection. And because hubby is my DM, or Dungeon Master, I of course I'm knitting these socks for him. It's a mini set, and it's 5 different colors. I'm going to show you the colors. And they're all inspired by the cover of 5 different books that are really nice to have if you're a Dungeon Master. You don't need to have all of them, but a couple or 3 of them. The Monster Manual, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and the Player's Handbook are really nice to have for a Dungeon Master. And I've added 2 more yarns for the heels, toes and cuffs, and both of those are Nora George. And the reason 5 20-gram minis are one skein, and I should have enough, but I was sort of, it's just like I'm thinking 5 minis are so, is that enough for a pair of socks? Of course it's enough, because I think I'm using 5 grams or something for each stripe. I think that was it. And the pattern, I haven't told you the pattern yet. I'm a true professional. The pattern is the Scrappy Quilt Socks by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. And as you can tell, it's inspired by a quilting pattern. And they're really squishy and nice, and it's a fun pattern. And again, it's easy to memorize. All of Kay Jones' patterns are easy to memorize. I really love her sock patterns. And the stitch marker is from Corner of Craft. Hannah from Corner of Craft, and she's the dyer behind Chromatic Yarns as well. So I'm trying to weave in the ends as I go, because there will be a lot of ends on these socks. My trick, by the way, for knitting socks for hubby is I don't do anything about the numbers. I still cast on 64 stitches. Because I think I find it much easier, because I can use my normal numbers for heels, for the heel, and for the decreases in the toe and everything. But the difference is I use 2.5 millimeter needles instead of 2.25. That's what I use for myself. And that makes them just a little bit bigger and more, and a bit looser. And then they fit him. So that's my sock whip. And I also have another t-shirt whip, and this is the project I told you about that I'm doing for the Fluff to Stuff. This is also a t-shirt, so I could, if I were one of you, I could double dip this. And it's the yarn. I'll show you the yarn first. This is fibre I bought at Unravel. It's from Coastal Colors. And I had a little over, I had 2 full skeins, one of each color, and this is sort of the leftovers. I have This is 195 meters and this is 147 meters. And the two full skeins I have here. And I'm hoping that would be enough. And this is how far I've gotten on my rocket tee. I have a purple and sort of pink rocket tee from before. So this is sort of the same, but I really wanted to do these in stripes. And I'm really loving the result of this. It's going to be a really warm t-shirt though, because it's handspun and it's 100% merino. And let's see where the needles are so I don't lose any stitches. And I'm pleased about how even my handspun is getting. You can tell it's handspun. There are some places where it's a bit uneven, but and you have a stripe here. That sort of bugged me to begin with, because it's at the same place in both those stripes. But I don't care. I think this is going to be really pretty, and I'm probably going to use it more like a vest in winter over a long sleeve t-shirt, because I think it's going to be too warm to be used as a t-shirt. But as a vest over a long sleeve t-shirt in winter, I'm going to use this a lot, I think. And this is in a tote bag that Sue made for me. It says Bente's Bag of Holding. And that's actually a playlist on this channel called Bente's Bag of Holding, where I put everything that hasn't got anything to do with fibers. So that was my second whip, and I have one spinning whip as well. And I forgot to say, the reason why I'm hoping to I don't want to start using anything from these two skeins is because I wanted to put these two together as a price for the Fluff to Stuff make along. So that's the reason why I'm hoping that I don't have to use anything of these. But if I have to, I have to. But I have enough yarn. And then my spinning whip is this one. I bought 200 grams of this from Ullveig. It's a merino, and there's sparkle in this. It's called Triobal Glitter, and it's multicolored. It's perhaps easier to see it in this, because this is the second 100 grams of this. I'm not sure you can see the sparkles at all, but it's really sparkly up close. And this is the second half. This is 100 grams of fibers, and I'm going to apply this because I know from experience that if I have 200 grams of fiber, I end up with, well, this started as 200 grams. Each of those colors started as 200 grams. So I'll have enough for a shawl or something with that. And I've also ordered some more undyed fiber, Dorset horn and cheviot, because I ordered 250 gram cheviot from Spinbuilt earlier, and I really loved it. It was really soft and nice, and I haven't dyed that fiber yet. So now I've ordered another 250 grams of cheviot, so I might dye up a sweater quantity. We'll see. I might also just dye 2 different colors and do something striped, like I did with this. But 250 grams of each color, that might be enough for a 3/4 sleeve sweater or something. Maybe a big shawl, we'll see. The Dorset horn I have never tried, so I'm excited about that. And speaking of spinning and fiber, Sue, Crafty Knitter 7, went to Knit City, Toronto this weekend, and she wasn't supposed to buy anything. She was just going there to meet people. And then she contacted me on Messenger and asked me if she could call me up because she wanted to show me some fiber. And it was Cormo. I have Ullveig sells Cormo. I've never tried it though. And Sue had found some really gorgeous Cormo hand-dyed. And one of the braids she showed me was really, really up my alley. It was really bright colors. And I think it's going to make a really beautiful fractal spin. And she got it for me. So she's spoiling me, as always. But we also made a deal that she has quite a big fiber stash. And I haven't got a fiber stash and I love spinning. So she's going to send me fiber for spinning and I'll send the yarn back to her. And because I love the spinning and I don't want to have a big stash of hand-spun yarn that I don't know what to do with. So I really loved the thought of spinning for her. So I'm looking forward to getting that fiber. And I'm trying not to order any hand-dyed fiber because I have a lot of undyed fiber. I just have to take the time to dye it. I dyed some fiber for a price that I loved. I really loved the result. I'll show you that fiber when I draw my, because I draw winners at the end of each quarter for the Fluff to Stuff, and the next prize drawing is at the end of June. And that prize at the end of June is going to be the fiber I dyed. It's Polworth fiber. And I'll show you at the end of June, in the podcast at the end of June, the fiber. And the Fluff to Stuff, I didn't talk a lot about the rules at the beginning of the podcast, but the point is you have to spin the fiber into yarn and then make something with the yarn. It doesn't have to be a big project. If you've never tried spinning and you just spin more or less a sample and you just crochet a square, I accept that. And you don't have to have spun it yourself. You can use fiber spun by somebody you know. If you buy handspun, I won't accept that. You have to spin it yourself, or somebody you know can spin it. A good example is if Sue participates in the Fluff to Stuff mal with yarn spun by me, that's okay. The whole idea here is to make people use the yarn they spin themselves. So Fluff to Stuff, that's the rules. And I draw prizes every quarter, and I will have a big prize drawing at the end of the year. And I'll probably have a Fluff to Stuff make-along next year as well. Unless I get fed up of spinning, but I don't think I'm going to. Because I spin much more than I knit, basically. I hurt my ankle while my youngest son was here visiting, and he's really fond of hiking and going for walks. And I've also been going a lot. I've been walking a lot since I started my new regimen that made me lose a lot of weight and everything. And one of the first days we were going for a walk, I stepped in a pothole, and of course at the edge of the pothole, so I twisted my ankle something fierce. It was twice the size of the other ankle. I was black and blue, and I struggled with walking. And of course, because you treadle when you spin, I couldn't spin either. So that's basically why I finished those socks and started and casted on the Scrappy Quilt socks. And I've gotten a lot of knitting done on the Rocket tee. I tried yesterday and now I can spin again. It's a bit uncomfortable, but it doesn't hurt. So I'll probably not get a lot of knitting done again, but the tea time mal ends at the end of June, so I still have some time to finish that tea. But again, it's also fluff to stuff, and I can't win a prize anyway, so who cares? That was my knitting and spinning. I have another spinning whip standing behind me, but I've shown you that before. It's a light blue that I dyed up some teas water, and I put that aside while I'm working on the fibre from Ullveig. It's sort of like I'm a yarn dyer, or I'm still a yarn dyer. I don't sell yarn anymore, but I'm still a yarn dyer. And I've never been particularly fond of knitting samples because it's boring knitting with my own yarn. I prefer knitting with somebody else's yarn because it's more exciting. The same goes for spinning, and especially sweater quantities. It's boring spinning a sweater quantity, especially semi-solids. So I was wondering if I should spin a variegated sweater quantity. So I might dye the cheviot in the same colors I dyed the fibre for the price, and spin a sweater quantity out of that. We'll see, but it's a bit more exciting spinning variegated than spinning semi-solids. So, and then a live stuff. Nothing exciting happening. As usual, we had Constitution Day was on Friday. We stayed at home. We just put up the flag, and we have had some pavlova. That's a really typical dessert for May 17th, Constitution Day in Norway, and I guess it's because of the red, white and blue. It's the raspberries or strawberries, blueberries and the vanilla cream or the custard, and that makes it red, white and blue. I suppose that's the reason. I cheat normally. I don't make an entire pavlova. I make sort of mini pavlovas. I buy a ready-made meringue, the sort of the tiny ones you can buy at the shops, and vanilla cream in a can, and then berries, and I just make portion size pavlovas. So that's what I do, and that's the. I don't think anything else has happened. My youngest is coming back for his summer holidays, but that's some time. We're doing some work in the house, or not work. We're going to change up the spare bedroom a bit. That's changed from the spare bedroom back to my oldest son's bedroom, because that's where he stayed while he was still living here, and now he's back there. So we have to do some changes in there so we can have his computer in the bedroom, because now he has his computer in the living room and it's on the dining table. It would be nice having my dining table back, especially since I had to make some new curtains, and to do that I needed to take my sewing machine out of hibernation, and it actually works, and I really enjoyed using it. So I'm thinking maybe I should do some sewing. Then I need a big table for the cutting, and if I have my dining table back I can do that. But on the other hand, I don't think I need another hobby. I have enough with the knitting and spinning, I think. I don't need more. But it's just the fact that my sewing machine actually still works after being put away for years. It's actually 40 years old. I bought it in 1984 when I was doing a course in high school in sewing. and I bought we got a deal for brand new baninas when we did that course in high school. And I've had that sewing machine ever since, and well, it was really top of the line back then. It, among other things, you could do buttonholes automatically. You can just turn a button to make buttonholes. And my mother was really impressed by that because she had a really old Husqvarna sewing machine and she never got a new one. And I just took it apart, cleaned it, and it ran like a dream. So that was really fun. And I enjoyed myself. The reason why I had to take it out in the first place was that I bought some new curtains. I didn't check the length. Turns out they were 1 meter too long. So I had to cut quite a bit of them. And they weren't, I really struggled because they did sort of a sloppy job when they made them. So it wasn't, they didn't follow the weft, I think you could say. So I had to cut at an angle. It felt like I had to cut at an angle. It wasn't, I was cutting them straight, but I had to do an angle over the weft, if you know what I mean. So I really struggled. I had to measure and measure and measure almost every 5th inch or something to make sure they were going to be straight at the bottom. So, but I made it. But I spent an entire day just hemming 3 curtains. It was a nightmare. But I would really like to do some sewing, and I have Jacqueline Sislak's book in Body, and it has some really nice sewing patterns. My problem is I don't have anywhere locally where I can get them to print out a big files for me, like A0 or A1. So I had to print out the patterns on A4 paper and tape them together afterwards. And that seems like a pain to me. So I might just check out online stores that sell sewing patterns and fabric and buy from them. When I did the course in high school, I learned how to make sewing patterns from scratch. We just did a design first, and then we made the pattern to make that design. But that's been 40 years, so I don't think I can do that anymore. I need a ready-made pattern to do any sewing, I think. But it would be so much fun sewing something for myself. So that's what I had for this episode. As you can tell, these are still short, and that's part of the reason why I'm going to do these once a month instead of once every 2 weeks. I want to have more to talk about. I want to be able to maybe take some pictures, maybe record something, some footage for you. Hopefully there will be more content, even though there will be 4 weeks between episodes. I hope you can understand that it's either that or nothing, because this is starting to feel like a chore and I'm feeling like I don't have anything to show you. So I've already talked about that at the top of the episode. No reason to repeat myself. I'm going to make myself a cup of coffee and tell hubby he can come back, and then I'll edit this. And I'll see you again in 2 weeks, and I hope you will get some work done on your tea time make-along and your fluff to stuff. And the next time I see you, we will be talking about the Arctic Summer of Socks. And again, you can't start now in the Arctic Summer of Socks if you have single socks and you haven't started the second sock yet. You can participate. You can enter that pair in the Arctic Summer of Socks. So it's sort of, if you have second sock syndrome like I sometimes have, I often just when I finish the first sock, I cast on the second sock immediately. Because it's like if I haven't cast it on, it takes even longer. But cast it on and knit a couple of rows. Then I have started the second sock at least. But if you have single socks lying around, or hose as they're known, this is a good excuse to finish those pairs. So after June 1st, cast on and knit the second sock, and then you can enter the pair in the Arctic Summer of Socks. So I'll see you back here in 2 weeks, and I hope you have a really nice end of May with less snow than we're having. Bye bye.